7 something-ish. Hopefully everybody's doing well, and man, this is really shiny over here. Gotta move this out of the way. That is actually an engine bag. Steve Brule, the world famous, nationally known, nationwide, Brule is building a 383, and not just any 383, a 1957 fuel-injected, original numbers matching kind of deal. So it's very cool, although he's having trouble finding a, so somebody let me know if you know of a, he's looking for a rope seal. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to live chat. Just right off the bat, because that's how we do it anymore. Let's make some noise. So he's building a 283, fuel injected with the fuel injection system and stuff. So it would be very cool, you know, the proper heads and intake manifold and or camshaft and all of that stuff. So it'll be very, very cool. Although, like I said, he's having trouble finding one of the rear seals, the rear main seals, a rope seal, because this is an old one. It's 1957, and we don't deal with a lot of those small blocks. But he is, so if you know of anybody anywhere to find those, we don't want a new one because the new rope stuff is just not good. We want an OG one, like that's impregnated, you know, like you do it. Tonight we're talking about in addition to that, we're talking about the 2.2 liter Dodge. I've been working on it nonstop for the last couple of days, and actually right now it's sitting up on the dyno, meaning it's just bolted to the flywheel and not the flywheel, to the bell housing and the adapter plate, and it's sitting there. I haven't yet made the mounts to mount the front of the engine down to the dyno, and that's why it's up there, to get some of this stuff done. But in doing so, I've run across yet more problems. One, my complete gasket set kit that I got, did not include an oil pan gasket, so I don't have that. So that would stop it from running. The other issue I now have after bolting this up to the dyno is that I need to see, and I'll know this tomorrow, whether or not we have a drive hub, a splined hub, that's long enough to work with the combination of a fairly long, deep bell housing and the extra thickness of the adapter. The other issue, and this one's on me, is if you know anything about these 2.2s, if you've ever seen them in the engine compartment of a front-wheel drive car, of any of these Omnis or Daytonas, Chrysler 600s, all these things, if you've ever seen them, they have a little bit of angle to them. I called it about 15 degrees. And that's about right. It seems like it's laid over a little bit. And I wanted to do that. I wanted to lay this thing over a little bit. I was thinking that when they designed this and they knew that the thing was be angled, which they may have done, you know, like the slant 6 stuff, they may have done for hood clearance, that there would have been angle to the oil pan just to keep the oil level, you know, the oil level is going to be basically parallel with the ground. So I wanted to, in the adapter, I wanted to put like about 15 degrees of angle in this thing. So the adapter goes on straight to the adapter to the dyno. But then the bell housing, the bolt pattern for the bell housing would be rotated 15 degrees, and that would give us the angle of the dangle that we wanted, give us a gangster lean on the 2.2. Unfortunately, when I had them do this, I told them to go in the wrong direction. So it's got 15 degrees going the other way. I honestly don't think it'll hurt anything. I think we could run it like that, but what I'll do is, since it has a centering ring in it, I can just rotate it and re-drill some more holes. It's not a big deal. But that's another thing that has to be done. The oil pan gasket obviously has to be done, and the problem is that I'm running out of time. So I honestly don't know if I'm going to be able to make any pulls on the 2.2. I'm disappointed because I've spent so much time and effort doing this, especially since it's, you know, it's all ready to go-ish, you know. I did today, which I liked. You know, when you're doing stuff, you want to get things done, and it was nice to be able to make some of you guys may follow me on Instagram and Facebook. If you haven't, you should. I always post extra stuff on there. I had to we wanted to get rid of the factory water pump. One of the reasons is that the factory water pump was not, this one was worn through, basically. It had eroded through the aluminum. So the housing itself wouldn't work. The water pump's fine. I mean, that's easy to buy. But the housing is a different thing. And so what we wanted to do anyway, I didn't want to run the factory water pump. I mean, we could, but normally we run electric water pumps, that way we have better control over stuff, and we can cool the thing between runs and stuff, so it just works out a little bit better. But what we can do is, to be able to do that, I had to take the factory water pump off. We can pressurize, sometimes what we do is pressurize water through the motor and just drain it back into the tank. I don't like doing that. I like it being in a sealed system. That way we can control what the temperature is. In order to do that, I had to make a cool little adapter plate that mimicked the bolt pattern of the original water pump. And then what I did was Troy was able to get me the drill bit that I needed in the tap, because what we're putting in there was basically a pipe fitting. So we put a pipe fitting in, and what it is it's the bottom leg, the outlet basically of the Mazir electric water pump. And what it does, it goes from a 1-inch pipe out to, it swedges up to fit, a standard size radiator hose. So that way we have radiator hose going into this to feed this. So I just made this adapter plate, drilled and tapped it, drilled all the holes, drilled and tapped this thing so that I could screw this thing on and siliconed it so it's not going to leak. And now it's on there, and it's a pretty fancy looking part of the motor. We put the head on, got the cam timing, got the belt lined up, all that stuff. I even mocked up a couple of different intake manifolds just to see if we were going to run into a problem. The biggest problem seems to be trying to run the turbo log style manifold on the original one for this 84, because this was a draw-through non-intercooled version, draw-through throttle body. But I want to try to run that just as a draw-through NA when we first run this thing, and then run it with a stock exhaust manifold. And I could run it with a turbo manifold. We also have a header for it, and we also have an NA stock exhaust manifold. So I just want to set it up as an NA motor, put it up there, fix all these problems that we're having, and then be able to run it NA and break the motor in as much as we need to. It is a slider cam, but the cam and followers have already been well acquainted for how many ever miles this thing has on it. And we're going to pre-lube it before we do all that, and then get it running and have an idea kind of where the NA power is, so we know what the gains were offered by the turbo stuff. And then also, we have a chance to break stuff in, and also know what timing this thing responds to. How much NA timing does this thing really want on 91? We're eventually going to also run, when we run boost, we're going to do some E85 testing, but we'll also do 91 stuff on this, because all of them, well, most of them driving around, and when there were a lot more of them, when they were driving around, they were driving around on 91. So guys were running them and running lots of boost on them and hopefully keeping them together on 91 octane. So we'll do some testing with that. We'll obviously do intercooler stuff, but I'm just disappointed. Somebody has some questions. I'm going to see if we can walk over there with this phone and hopefully not lose signal, so we can kind of take a look. We'll see if it works out. And if not, I'll come back. Will you be posting the timing curves? Yeah, I'll show you what we tried, and we'll show you the NA stuff, and then we'll also show you what happened when we ran it with a turbo. We can get away with a lot more timing than you can on the street, but you can see here. So we have our bell housing and our adapter. This is the gangster lean I'm talking about. We got our turbo manifold and turbo intake and exhaust manifold. Playing with measuring devices and adapters and all kinds of fun stuff. It's my working area with all the let's see, throttle body, that's the factory throttle body. This is the turbo that should be on there. So the one-piece intake manifold down here, long tube header, really very, very long tube. And this, if anybody's a 2.2 guy, you'll recognize this. That's the elbow for the air box. This is that throttle body over there. We're gonna hook that up. Whoop! Oh, and I want to show you the, I forgot, somebody brought that up to my attention. Here's my fancy adapter here, full race. So we got an in and an out. They're both here on this side. And naturally, they're on the opposite side of where we have the water tower for the dyno, but yeah, you just make it work. I went through the same thing with the 3800. It was way back in the back, you know, front wheel drive stuff. Sometimes a little more problematic than the rear drive stuff. Working my way through the maze here. We got some big block with an extra dose of nitrous. Some cool intake manifolds. They're probably, I would imagine that they're getting ready to do some testing engine master stuff probably. So I don't know what they're going to run, but it, you know, that's always good stuff. So that's my day. So how are you guys all doing? Actually, you know, it's always cool working on stuff. It's always good stuff. Neil, what's going on? But it's all, you know, it's all just hurdles. If given enough time and, you know, thought you could fix it. 1,000 horsepower 2.2, yeah, that's not a reality. Not with an 8-valve head. That'd be really hard. It'd be lots and lots and lots of boost. And lots of broken motors probably as you went up there that high. But lots of cool testing. I get that question, and not that response was that, but I get that kind of response a lot. Well, we want to see videos of the build. We want to see how much power it's going to make. Well, that's not what I do know of 100 horsepower 2.2. That's probably more accurate for this. Certainly NA, if it goes into 3 digits NA, I'll be pretty happy. Especially with that stock log manifold. Wish you would test the interchillers on the market. There are more than one. Are those the things that use the AC system? I had a guy contact me about doing a test here with that, so maybe that's something that will happen. So I was going to try to use because I couldn't find a flywheel, so I was going to try to use the flex plate, but now this will probably give me time to get the right flywheel. Because the other thing that's happening is I need to check with Troy and see if we have the long enough snout, the spline snout for the dyno, because the bell housing and the combination of the bell housing and the adapter are so long that we've got to push the splines out to the drive plate that's going to be closer to the motor. And the other thing is that we now have I found a drive plate that's small enough to work in the small bell housing, the small bell housing, but it's still got to be moved out a little bit. So we've got a few things that we have to overcome. But like I said, it's just stuff. It will all get done and this thing will be running. A 2.2 went 805 15 years ago, so that was a 4-valve thing or something? That's right. Bill housing. You got to put the capital H though. Yowza. Ford, I did not see that. Yeah, Carl, 16 valve. A 16 valve head like the T3 stuff or the Maserati stuff or even a SRT swap thing is much better than an 8 valve. Seen cold start injectors all lined up. Oh, it was a T3, yeah. I don't know. I've never seen any flow results or flow numbers on those T3 heads. I wonder how well they flow. It's got to flow a lot better than the 8-valve stuff. Did Ford, was it A nuclear power plant that you were talking about? Because we already have one in California. I already did the live chat thing. We're already good. Oh, fusion, okay. So basically your comment said Ford Fusion. Car guy puns. Same car went 933 on an 8-valve. What kind of car was it? Was it a rail or a dragster or something? I know that there are guys going 9s now, high 9s probably in Omnis. Got my wastegate fixed, 750 wheel horsepower, 16.5 pounds. Nice. The paper trading is going well. I've only had one negative day, and it was very, very small. The camless engine didn't work very well, Neil? Was it pneumatic or what was it? Was it a Coates rotary valve? The intake looks like an 8-valve VW unit. I don't know what is Koenigsegg's, what is his free valve technology? I haven't even looked at it. How are they actuating or not actuating stuff? Yeah, is it the Coates rotary valve deal? We saw that at SEMA for years. I talked to Billy Godbold about that. Yeah, there's lots of different methods of opening the passage to get breathing. I want somebody to do, I'm sure that they have. They had to have done like a shutter or an iris or something. The Fiat Multi-Air. I did look into that stuff because I like the little Fiat 500s. So I was looking into the little turbo motors that they did. So you're looking at Isuzu Rodeo, the Rodeo Drive version. Jose, you have a 400 block, and you have heard of people putting aftermarket heads on them without drilling steam holes. Has anybody else done that? Has anybody done that? I should say 2 more minutes now because we know it will be more than that. I really want a Dodge Raider. I still want a Rampage and a Scamp. I've been talking to Ben from the car farm a lot today. I've been calling him about this stuff on that motor. The Koenigsegg is pneumatic, okay. Raider with a diesel. I just want a little truck. A little truck that I could put big blocks in the bed of. And small blocks and Omni motors and various different kinds of junkyard stuff. So Ricardo did the sleeve valve deal? they do a lot of good technical stuff. The Toyota trucks are cool. That's probably my favorite series on Top Gear, is when they were trying to destroy the Toyota truck. Just buy a little Econobox and a 5x8 utility bed. There are cool trucks. I know I have a truck, but I want a small truck. I want a mini truck, like a Rampage or a Scamp with a 2.2 turbo. I know, I love the fact that on that Toyota that they let the tide come in and let the tide take it. They even chained it down, and not good enough apparently. And then they dropped a building on it. That's awesome. A VW Rabbit pickup would be cool, although again, I would want a turbo Rabbit, but a diesel version of that would be cool. Rampage with a C8 drive train in the bed. No, I don't want anything like that, because then there's no room in the bed. I want to have a bed that just works as a bed. 4J1 compound big. I don't even know what engine that is. I'm not familiar with that. Can you steal a rotary the next time you're at the junkyard? I've never seen one at any of the yards that I've been to. Never even seen a rotary there. I know a Rampage would be good. I like the idea of a Rampage. And if I have an Omni, I mean, it needs a little truck buddy. 1.9 turbo diesel. I would like a VW turbo diesel in a truck, in a VW truck. That would be cool. Oh, my battery came unhooked. So we got to plug you in. There we go. I know the Car Farm guys have a couple, I think, and a Scamp. But they're probably not easy to come by. Almost always see rear-ended RX-8s. I'm not a big fan of the RX-8. I'm a much bigger fan of the third RX-7s. Getting a friend for one. That's right. That's the same thing with puppies, right? You get one dog, and you got to get another one to keep them company. There's a kit that turns a Jetta into a pickup. That would be good. I like Jettas too. I like a lot of those. I like the old Kleiner GTI Rabbit commercials that Volkswagen did to the Beach Boys tune. Plain Jane S10, or yeah, that's right. Holden made an El Camino, yep. A carb 2.2 Rampage. No, I don't want that. I would want it to be a turbo, definitely. But I think what I would do is the motor that I would put together would be a 2.2 turbo, but it would be an NA short block, so it would be a high compression short block. Subaru Brat, yep, so my kids could sit in the little suicide seats in the back. The little jump seats. I'm sure they don't even allow you to ride in those anymore. Do we know why the Subaru Brats had rear-facing seats? So you could take your friends with you? Build a white 86 Toyota. Those are nice. We get those in here a lot. With the little twin cam 1.6s in them. Rampage takes some work, new front brakes. Yeah, but all that stuff is fairly easy, though. I think a lot of that stuff interchanges from other Dodge models. Oh, so they had the seats in there to classify it as a car? Sneaky. Whatever it takes. To get around import tariffs. Jeep Comanche. Was it a 4-liter Jeep Comanche? American Eagle, what's up? Welcome. hopefully very soon I'll have lots more videos. Well, as soon as I get home, I'll have lots more regular videos up. I saw the LS 4-cylinder thing at PRI. I don't know much about it, though. So our poll for tonight, I can't do an official poll, but let me know. So who out there, when you were younger, who out there did roof riding? Did anybody do roof riding when you were young? Obviously, it's not safe, and you shouldn't do it, and you shouldn't tell your kids about it. Somebody asked a question about, I can scroll back. Let me see. Sorry if you mentioned this, but what kind of water pump on the 2.2 on the Dyno? We're running a Mizzier electric, and it's a remote Mizzier electric. We run it on a lot of big blocks and stuff, and so we're running that. Yes, hood surfing, yeah, we didn't do that. But roof riding, and did you ever do it tandem? Because we had vehicles like Cadillacs and trucks and stuff that were too wide for one guy to reach all the way across. And so you had your buddy and you interlocked arms, and you had to be pretty trusting. The hood surfing, yeah, Grindhouse, that was good. Roof riding, yep. Station wagon. Yeah, roof rack made it easy, but when you had edges that you had to grab onto, or when guys inside the car were trying to like push your fingers off or roll the windows up. That's all part of it. Truck tug of wars. I never did that. We did try to push stuff over like signs and little trees and stuff. So Tom, you do the Teen Wolf surfs up on the top of the van? Fix my hood. Make scarecrows, throw them on car hoods. What we used to do is, this was long ago, we would get on either side of the road and pretend that we had the rope and do the rope pull. We even did, we would pretend to cover it with a row of leaves going across, and then when the car would come by, and this was on a regular in town kind of street, so they're only going 20 or 25, and then we would do it and we would yell, pull, and the car would slam on its brakes, and then we would take off running to get away. There was a field with a barbed wire fence, and so you'd have to dive and do the tuck and roll, like the Captain Kirk shoulder roll, over the fence, because on the other side of the fence was a field with really, really tall grass. So, and we were doing this at night. So you could just go out there basically and disappear and then crawl around wherever you wanted to go, so they couldn't find you. But the guy who was the bravest, like one guy that was on the side of the field, he had an easy getaway. The other guy either had to run in front of the car or behind the car while people would get out and be mad at you and chase, because it was all about just getting somebody to chase you. That's part of it. Yeah, we do pushing boulders down the hills. Yeah, we used to bring bottle jacks and pry bars and stuff and dig them up out of the ground and roll them down the hill. It's pretty fun. You backed up with a wheelbarrow into an electric fence. That's not good. My father-in-law, when we were coming down, we were up on the hill, and I was catching snakes, and we were walking back down, and he grabbed an electric fence, and it was shocking. Yeah, snowballs, walnuts, just whatever that you had. I remember one time we went out to visit some kids' families that we knew, and kids that we played baseball with, played Little League with, and they lived out in the country, and so they had a a bridge that went over a big creek that they had there. So we went underneath the bridge, and since it was cold, we were building a fire. And so we piled up a bunch of wood. It was hard to get at the light and stuff. So one of the guys went and grabbed, he said, I'm going to go get a little bit of gas from the mini bike or whatever, and we'll pour it on there, and then it'll be easy, and then we'll have a little fire. He poured a bunch on there. The flames came all the way out of both sides of the bridge, and so it was pretty exciting. You know, you singe your eyebrows and stuff. It's like having we used to you'd take oranges and apples, and the worst one that we ever did was with pomegranates. We'd put firecrackers in them, and you'd stand back the requisite, safe 5-foot distance or whatever. And it would blow up, and then we'd come walking back in, and we looked like we had the measles because we had these pomegranate, dots all over us. And my parents were like, "What are you guys doing?" Nothing. We weren't doing nothing. It's just nothing happened. Is a turbo worth the money? Yes, most definitely. Yeah, the pomegranate stuff was fun. Ex-land serving technician, crossed the stile over electric fence, got 25-pound iron bar, contact with a hand. Yeah, that's not good. That surveying's a tough job. American, what's up? Ever tested an LS3 with a stage 3 cam with long tube headers? Worth the money power-wise? Would be good for twin turbo to upgrade. Which stage 3? Thank you very much, first of all. And which stage 3 are you talking about? I don't know. Is it a stage 3 truck cam, a stage 3 turbo cam, a stage 3 NA cam? There's almost a 99.9% chance that I've tested an LS3 with a cam like the one that you're describing. And I have videos up on lots of LS3 stuff. I have videos up on long tube headers, and long tube headers definitely add power. Purple microdot, that's OG. I know this answer, it's Texas Speed Stage 3. No, probably not. But if you told me what the specs are, I know that I've tested something that's gonna be like that. If it fits stock piston to valve clearance, then I've tested a cam like that. Wonder what cars will be like in 20 years. Well, hopefully my son will be driving my GLHS. Have you ever thought about a twin charged engine or testing it? I already have videos up on that, so you could take a look at I've done it a few times now. We did a 3800 V6 with the factory supercharger and with a turbo. And then I also did with the boys from HP Performance, Jimmy, my buddy, and Nathan. They did a test on a 03 Cobra motor with twin turbos blowing into the supercharger. And then I've also done a compound turbo on turbo action LS. Someone's beeping. Got their backup beeper going. Yeah, Grooves, that's a good point. American Eagle, if you're thinking about going turbo, you don't need a big cam. You just take a look at for instance, that's probably not a good example, but there's an LS3 up there with a cam in it that made 825, like it's, 8 pounds or something. So it doesn't take very much to make a lot of power with an LS3, any kind of cam in there. But the nice thing about the turbo is if you pick a turbo that makes 1,000 horsepower, you can put a little cam in it and still make that 1,000 horsepower. You don't need the big cam to do that. M80 with a wrist rocket, yeah, we've done that. In fact, we used to have, we would do it with bottle rockets, so we had bottle rocket wars. But slingshots, wrist rockets, and firecrackers, you can launch those in the air. And you can launch, we used to launch bottle rockets underwater, which was good. And if you put a bottle rocket upside down and let it go into a bottle with water in it, you should stand way back. It just vaporizes the bottle. What cam would you recommend for the LS3 that you plan to turbo later on? You could put something small in it. I mean, take a look at the LY6 test that I did, and I ran a stock cam, an LS3 cam, a sloppy stage 2, and then a bigger cam. And if you want more drivability and you are going to go to boost, yeah, Roman candles would be another one. We didn't have Roman candles then. We only had bottle rockets, but probably something like Brian Tooley has some new good cams out right now that they just did development on for the LS3. So something like the hot rod cam probably would be really good. It's smaller than the cams smaller than the 459 and 460 comp cams I would have normally run in the LS3 stuff. And they would make a lot of power, and they would drive better probably than those cams would. Fishing with cherry bombs, yep. We have lit M500s before too, and they're really, really loud. Richard, you should attend SDAC. I would like to. I was talking to the guys at the car farm about that, and when the car is done, I would like to have something to take there. The Truck Norris cam is good. An LS3, a guy might want more camshaft than that. You can take a look at the dyno results and see exactly how much it adds. Yep. Let's see. Hang on a second. I gotta go check, see what's going on out here. I might have to represent on somebody. Rolling in my 5.0. Let's see what we got going on. Oh, that's cool. That customer picking up his Corvette. It's all good. It's all good in the hood. Just got to make sure there's no craziness going on. Sure, everybody stays in their lane. Gotta put my umbilical cord. Yeah, it's not unusual on cam swaps for an LS3. We've gone from, with the biggest kind of cams that you can fit in available piston to valve clearance on an LS3, you could go from, when we run them on the engine dyno, a stock one with headers makes like 495. And it's not unusual for it to get up to 565 or 575 with a camshaft. And then, and in fact, if you look, there's a video that I did on the LS3 of a 227, 224, 227, and 231 cam. So you can kind of see where those are. Those will give you a fairly good idea. Someone has a valve spring question. For maximum engine efficiency on an NA, do you want to run the lightest weight valve spring that will still keep the valves from floating? Yeah, except that it's not just weight that works. It's not just spring pressure. It's also spring frequency for the camshaft. So there's a lot more that goes into it. So let's see if I can. Oh yeah, oxyacetylene stuff. Yeah, that's bad. Are high horsepower turbo Dodge guys using stock electronics and swapping chips or using a standalone? I would think that the guys that are running 9s and 10s probably are running standalones, although some of those guys have gotten pretty far now that they can program that stuff. Because if you can get it, if you can get the air fuel that you want, you can get the duty cycle that you want, and you can get the timing that you want, it doesn't matter what's programming that. What are the differences in specs between the 2.2 turbo cams and NA cams? I'm going to run all of those when we get this thing running. American Eagle, if you're going to have it tuned, then you're probably going to need, let's see, what are those? An LS3 injector can take you to, yeah, it's going to be near the top with the 46, 90. Yeah, but see, that's 90 horsepower. Aren't the stock LS3 injectors 46 pounds? If they are, that's 90 per hole, and actually it's probably a little more than that with the brake specific that an LS3 is going to have. 90, 9 times 8 is 720. You should be able to get enough power from that. Yeah, 46 pound stock. You have enough injector to make a lot of power than NA, but not under boost. NA you can make a lot of power, but under boost those injectors aren't big enough. You're going to need 80 pounders if you're going to want to be near 1,000 horsepower. You can do the, what did we do with the dry ice and the little plastic bottles? Dry ice and water, I think, in the plastic bottles. Just takes a little while. It's just delayed. I've never done anything with Ecotech motors yet. I never run one on the engine dyno. I've been there when they were doing stuff on the chassis dyno, though. One guy has an Ecotech and a Fiero that he road races. Pretty cool. On the 2.2, this is what I expect. I haven't actually tested it yet. If it follows suit like every other engine family that I've run, what maximum total time would you put in a big block Chevy with 10.5 to 1 compression, a 242, 248 cam? I don't know what head you have on it. That's going to determine how much timing that motor wants. And the octane to some extent. On the 2.2, every motor that I've ever tested, if we go up in camshaft and it helps NA power, it's going to help under boost, because the boost's just going to multiply what's there. So if the camshaft is better for an NA motor, it's going to be better for a turbo motor. And we're going to see that with the 2.2 also. Highest horsepower on an SMAC I've seen is 340 with an automatic. That's a lot. They made a 1 liter Ecotech, Neil. I mean, I don't know enough about Ecotechs, but maybe, is that a Europe only thing? So you want to see the difference between those two turbos? I don't think comparing factory turbos is going to demonstrate very much, but do you have a preference on nitrous brands? No, I don't. I think the nitrous brand that gives you the best customer service is probably a good thing to think about. So the question about the cams is, a lot of people think mistakenly that, and this is definitely prevalent in the 2.2 crowd, along with a lot of others too, because I've got these comments before, that people still think that, oh, you can't run an NA cam, it's too much overlap, all the boosts will blow out and that kind of thing. That's not what happens, and we'll see that the camshaft has to be really, really big for you to start losing power, and when you start losing power, you're going to start losing power NA. What's going to happen is you're going to lose turbo response because you're going to lose low-speed power, and then you're going to gain a bunch on the top. So the new curve that you've created with your new cam timing is just going to be mirrored under boost. It's going to be softer down low because the turbo doesn't have enough torque to respond, depending on the turbo size. But you're going to storm on the big end. I thought that a 1 liter was Europe only. I remember the 1.4 stuff, but I didn't remember the 1 liter being here. Well, Dean, I have tilted the engine in the wrong direction, so apparently I can't run very much cam timing on this 2.2. I just wondered about swapping out wastegate and blow-off valve. Oh, the 1 liter was a 3-cylinder? Then I really like it. Now that you mention that, I do remember somebody telling me, because I was talking to them about the Sprint, and then telling me about the other 1 liter. That's probably it. That's probably it. It's so frustrating to have that motor over there bolted to the dyno and not be going, wah, 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 wah. Especially, because it's new. It's new love. It's different. Yep, triples. I took a bunch of pictures of my Sprint motor for somebody that might be interested in all that stuff. Three cylinders are Geos. Yeah, mine's it's actually Suzuki made them. What is Richard Holder's dream engine? The one that comes in a McLaren F1. Not really that engine, that car. Because mine would definitely have turbos on it. Because it doesn't make nearly enough power. Because imagine what that car would be like with 1,000 horsepower. And 1,000 horsepower would be like 7 pounds of boost. The old motorcycle triples were cool, the Kawasaki stuff. They're a little peaky, but they were good. I got to do a lot of riding around on an RD400, which was fun. I know that's not triple, but. Turbo Sprints were good except for the car itself. I love my Sprint. And I like the fact that it was little and light and vibrated and stuff. Richard, what turbo did you run on your Focus? What was the horsepower? We did a lot of different things. one of the motors made 520 something at the wheels, and that was a GT66 from Turbonetics, I think. Or Innovate, one of those. But it was definitely a GT66. And we also ran small T3s, I think, with the F-Max kit. And then I ran another one, I think it was Kenny Duttweather that gave me that header and stuff. I thought that there was another intermediate one. I've never ridden I never got to ride a triple. One of the guys at school had one, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty fast. It was faster than the RD was. Yeah, the RD 400. This one had a bunch of work done to it, so it handled pretty well. Except for me running out of gas in it and then putting diesel fuel in on my way back from the lake. It didn't work very well after that. So I stopped at a abandoned farmhouse, and they had the big tanks. I thought that one of them was gas. Apparently they were both diesel. I was hoping one of them was gas because I was out of gas. And it was a long way, and I want to push that bike for 10 miles. I think I've ridden a Banshee, though. I remember doing jumps on it with my buddy Jimmy. We went riding in the dunes when we went out to New Mexico. GSXR 400. I had a GSXR 750. Yamaha had an RZ 350 also. The Yaris, my Yaris was a 4-cylinder. It was a 1500 or 1600. I was surprised that it didn't get better mileage. The mileage, the motor that I wanted was the 1.8 that was in the XD. Banshee engines were basically an RC350. Cool. It was fast, and it would sail. Big block Yaris, yeah. It was a Yaris S too, so it had all the body kits. It just had all the body kit, but none of the power. It needed that 1.8 VVT. I think it was a dual VVT in the 1.8, and it was a lot better. I like that motor better, but it needed boost. Would have been cool, and we eventually put a turbo on it. Mine was a Yaris S because this was way back in 08 or something. I don't know what, somewhere in the 35 to 40 degree range is what a big block's gonna want if it has a big block style 120 cc kind of typical big block head in it. So that's where it should be. If it bogs, that's probably carburetor, and you could also look at your timing curve, but it's probably carburation. Grooves, that didn't work out for you? The triple? Single, double, it's a triple. Yeah, 1NZFE, yeah, that's what it is. I haven't seen the video that Eric did. I don't have lots of time to to watch videos, unfortunately. And the problem is if I sit down and start scrolling through stuff, then it's the next day. The piston broke off the piston squirters on the dyno. Uh-oh. A GS Yaris would be good. No, mine was just a regular body kit. Just a body kit. Mitsubishi Mirage hatches have turbo triples. I don't know which ones those were. I had a Mitsubishi Mirage Turbo, but it was a 4-cylinder. It was a 1.6. 2.3 Lima Llama, Hands of Wisdom. Hopefully, if I do one of those Fords, it will be less problematic than this. It should be, because the bell housing and stuff is all going to be a lot easier. Yep, the Mirage was the cousin to the Colt. Yep, cafe bars, scrape the pegs. Yeah, were you scraping the pegs? Yep, I was scraping the pegs. So 700 CFM Hemi heads, Dan? That's a lot. It's like factory Honda style. That's right. What engine would you never turbo? Probably the Trail 90. Yeah, I wouldn't turbocharge a supercharged LS. An 88 Colt wagon. Some of those little cars had, because I remember my buddy Bernie's, his little Toyota Corolla. It seemed like it had a 20-to-1 first gear combination between the final drive and the first gear. It was is pretty energetic off the line. Somebody said something about 20 PSI, but I didn't catch it. 20 PSI, yo. I would definitely run turbos on a small block, and on a Ford, and on a big block, and all the big blocks, and all the small blocks. I know which one I wouldn't run boost on. The 5.3 that's in my truck. Anything attached to a 4L60E. Because, you know, Volvo Turbo Red Block 740. I do, and I like the Volvo wagons. That would actually be, yeah, it's just so hard to put stuff in there, though, if you're putting blocks in from the wrecking yard. But a wagon would be cool. My kids need to know how the wagon coolness. Mitsubishi Starions, yep, those are good, especially the intercooled ones. Oh, we got gave me a tip on the dry sump setup. Cool. '71 Corolla, the hemispherical 1600, yeah. I forgot what year his is. It's definitely low 70s. What happened to the 2.2? It's sitting on the dyno right now, but it's not going to run. 71 Torino Cobra Jet, 74 Toyota Celica GT. I was not a big fan of the Celica stuff, except for the Supra obviously was good. And then the Celica All-Track I liked. But not a lot of the other ones. The Corolla, there were a lot of Corollas that I liked. Yeah, an A86, it's a good example. Did a Cobra Jet and a Super Cobra Jet on the 429s, did they have different carburetors? Yeah, Neil, I agree. That was a good engine. The cam swap I need for the LS isn't gonna dip into my budget because I have 100 cams, so that's not a problem. So how much power was the crankcase stuff worth? We've done tests here. 71, 72 Cobra Jet 429 J code. Did that have a Q jet on it, or did one of them have a Holly on it? Ain't nothing like Hoover in the crankcase. Yeah, when you get that right, it definitely helps. And then if you have leaks, it doesn't work as well. Are you talking about the Ute that they had in Australia? The sports Ute? My dad had an El Camino when we were growing up. An MG Montego 2-liter turbo, 150 horsepower. Blew up the first Spirited Drive. I don't know how much crankcase vacuum helps control windage. I don't know how much of a control that is. That's usually windage tray and pan design. '79 Pontiac Firebird. I didn't think a '79 ever came. Did you put the turbo motor in it? Because it didn't come that way, right? Wasn't that 80 and 81 only? I could be wrong. I'm not a Turbo Pontiac expert. Although I do like the LED on the hood scoop. You know, because it's like kit. I think that that's about as far as they run it, Dan, is 14 or 15 inches. I think that's what Brule was saying too. I've never gone, I don't think I've ever had a vacuum pump on mine. Yeah, if you have squirters and windage tray, then you're good. And then where the oil is in the pan and the design of the pan, like if it has a, there's probably one here that has a, yeah, like you look at this big block pan, they have kickouts on them, stop the oil from rotating back up. And if you have a dry sump, that's really the way to go. But all of these are wet sump pans, I think. Two more minutes. It's actually the official 2 minutes. I do want to do a new pan for the 2.2. I was looking at that thinking that there's so much better that needs to be, there's so much better that can happen here. 2-liter Duratec, putting in a Datsun 620, nice. The K24 would be better, but the Volvo engine would be cool, but again, it's this kind of thing that you have to go through to make it work. If it, like I said, on this, if NA, and I'm thinking NA with the one-piece or two-piece intake and the header on it, if it makes 100 horsepower, I'll be really happy. I don't think it'll make 100 horsepower with the stock log style manifold. I don't think it'll do that. That leaves something to be desired. The Shelby version made 107, I think, is what they're rated at. A little more compression, a little adjusted cam timing, but the NA motor already had more compression than they milled the head, but the NA one already had more compression than this one did, and a different camshaft, and a better intake manifold. Painting a Golf R, oh cool. Let's see. Yeah, the pipes on the two-stroke is definitely, I mean, from sound quality alone, it's really cool. But also power. We did that on the GoPed that I had. A little nervous on the crank scraper as the trigger wheel is very close. Yeah, you got to look for that. You have a 70 Formula 400. That's good. What 400 is it? Is it a Rammer 3? The first 2.2 was in a Daytona. DG pipes, it made noise, not power. I think that the no, the RD that I rode, I think had super traps on it. but now has a rammer 4 cam and ported heads. Cool. Is the Comp 469 good for street driving 408 boosted? On a 408, it would be more drivable. It's not necessary for a boosted application unless you're trying to make 1,000,000 horsepower. I would put something milder in it if I was driving it on the street. Because a 408 with boost is going to make a lot of power. One time in a 90 Shelby Daytona, I floored it and blew an intercooler pipe. Your whole world stops when you do that. I've blown the discharge tube off of when I was racing at the Virginia City Hill Climb in my Vortex supercharged Mustang, my 5-liter, and I thought that I blew the motor up because I blew the intercooler pipe off. I'm like, oh, it's just a stupid plastic pipe that gets hot and deforms and then wants to slip out of the coupler. I'm like, I'm gonna get an aluminum one. But I was much happier that it was that and not a blown up motor, because I used to beat on that thing pretty hard. Crank scrapers are a lot of work. Crank scrapers are a lot of work to get right. That's pretty meticulous work. Yeah, that's right, Neil. And on a turbo too, it's even worse. You think that your whole world has ended. It feels like it has. I remember losing when I was racing Bridgestone Supercar Series with a supercharged Mustang, and I remember losing the belt. And it felt like I lost several hundred horsepower because I did. And I was like, man, this thing is slow, naturally aspirated, breathing through the blower. Yeah, the super traps did hurt power. I had super traps on my Mustang for a long time and thought that they were really cool until we did a dyno test on them, on a chassis dyno test on them. I'm like, oh yeah, these are terrible. We just would before I'd run the silver set, we just take them out. The exhaust that I really liked on my Mustang was Borla made an exhaust for me for the supercharged Mustang. I think it probably was 2.5. I don't think that they would have gone to 3-inch back then. I can't really remember, but it sounded really nice and it was nice for driving around and stuff. Richard, do you see early suggestions for your dyno lean? What do you mean, for the lean of the engine? But if the question is, do I know how to fix that? The answer is yes. We just have to rotate it on the adapter and drill new holes. Thinking that we have to. It did sound good at 5,500 RPM under boost, roaring down the freeway at 190 miles an hour. I don't know about the idle between the 270 and the 264. See if you can flip the plate right to left. There's no flipping the plate. There's countersunk holes on one side of it. The other exhaust systems that I like is I like the MagnaFlow stuff. Tim, what's up? On Mexico, well, we did it in the Silver State race, so we did it in sanctioned events. Yeah, actually that car went faster than that, but that's what we were going at the time with the Borla on it. That car was fast. Yeah, Neil, the belt deflection is a weird thing. If you watch, that's one thing we get to see on the dyno that a lot of people don't get to see is with superchargers particularly where there's a run of unsupported belt. You can see it on the cog belts, like the Gilmore belts for big 871s and stuff, and you see it on anything that has a belt on it. When you're running and you're doing a sweep through the RPM range, you'll see the sine wave change on the belt. And the more it's unsupported, the more weirdness that happens. And it's cool to see it change during the RPM run. That's why having another, even not a tensioner to put tension against it, to try to get more, pulley tension, but just to control that wave is sometimes a good idea. Sometimes a good idea, because it's kind of scary seeing that stuff. Yes, a guide roller, yeah. Just to hold everything there that's happening the way it's supposed to. Because it's weird. It's a crazy sine waves, and it's changing. Yep, just a simple idler. Just something to say, hey, I'm here. I got you. I got you. Rambo. Like a sports bra, yep. Yeah, the sports bras are, the Boral exhausts are nice. And I think Alex may have passed away, I'm not sure, or Elise, I think was his wife's name. Very, very nice people. Those are the kind of people that when you get into the industry and you meet, you're like, yeah, those are real people. Should I say one more minute? Oh, it is time to get off. It's got to be. I got stuff to do. I got to take that stupid 2.2 off of there. I mean, the awesome 2.2 off of there. I have David Vizard's books. What about an adapter to adapt LS factory EFI manifold onto any V8? You can't have a universal one to adapt it onto any V8 because the angle and the width and the length and all of that stuff of the ports are different. Nothing but love, Dean. Nothing but love. Dave, you're in Vizard's book? Or his books? Nice. Off-road Y or handmade X on Expedition? Yep, everybody hit the like button. Like that supercharger adapter. Yeah, you can make adapters to adapt almost anything to almost anything. It just takes, time and money and development to do it. An LS intake onto a 5-liter Ford. That's the one that needs to be done. And on that note, it's time to go. Thank you guys all for showing up. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all that, whatever. I will be back tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have some more information for you guys. I might just push this 2.2 out of the way, clean everything up, and put a Ford on, because it's already ready to go. I'll see you guys all tomorrow.